Back again on the Get Foxy show. This time we have the amazing and wonderful Carey Conley. Carey, thank you so much for taking the time today. I so appreciate you in so many ways. For the listeners, I'll give you a heads up here. Carey was one of the instrumental coaches and mentors in my life, and I'm so excited to finally get her on this show. And I wanted to talk to her about the book that she just wrote, as well as a little bit about vision. So Carey, thank you again. And yes, please tell us a little bit about how your book was birthed.
Terry, I could not be more excited to be here with you. You are one of my favorite people on the planet, so thank you for asking me. So yeah, I have a couple of books actually that I've written. One is with regards to vision, called Vision is Victory. I wrote that and launched that, I think almost 5 years ago now, to help people get what they've got rolling around in their brain of what I call a hope and a wish and a prayer plan out of their head and onto paper so that it becomes a leap off the page, crystal clear path that they can follow and identify their purpose, right? I've walked you and thousands of people through that exercise. Now more than ever, I think it's so important that people have a vision and know their purpose to keep moving on. But last year, my daughter and I co-wrote a book entitled Keep Looking Up. And the purpose for that book is that in the past almost 6 years now to suicide.
Hang on, Carey. I'm sorry, we lost you. The video froze there for just
Sorry.
a moment.
Okay. Tell me what you want, where we want me to
Okay. You might have to start
start.
right
Okay.
after you talked about your vision book,
Okay.
your second book.
Okay. Do you want me to actually have the book in my hands?
If you want, you can certainly have that. Sure.
I thought it was behind me. Hang on, I'll grab it.
This is the beauty of being live, my friends.
Okay. So sorry. I'm back. Here we go.
So your second book,
Mm-hmm.
the title was?
It's called Keep Looking Up, and this is a book that my daughter and I co-wrote together last year. It took us most of last year, actually, because we have lost both my husband and my son to suicide in the past 6 years, 3 years apart from each other. And when Laurel and I went through that, obviously we spent a year just really grieving and healing and getting through it together. And at the beginning of last year, we decided that it was time to kind of share our journey with people because so many people were following us and wanting to know how we got through it. And so many lessons were learned in that journey, Terry, that we just felt like it was time that we shared some of the things that we learned out of it so that other people going through whatever adversity they're going through, it could help them. And also to help people who have come to us and said, you know, I have some friends, family members that are going through some really hard time or they've been through some loss and I don't know how to help them. So we wrote the book of 11 chapters and just kind of sharing all the things that we learned in hopes to help some other people.
And what is one of the main things that you learned from that experience?
Mm-hmm. Well, the title of the book is called Keep Looking Up because at the bottom line of this whole thing, Terry, is that our perspective is that it's based on eternal and knowing that whatever we're going through here on this earth in this moment is very, very temporary. And the way that Laurel and I are able to get through it is knowing that there is a heaven and that we will all be together again. And that no matter what is happening again in this world at this moment, that there is a higher power in control. Thank God, literally. So yeah, we just, anytime that we started feeling really discouraged, obviously we still grieve over the loss, but what we focus on every day is how can we use this to keep going on and to help other people. It's all perspective.
So this sounds very much like it's a book about faith.
A lot of it is about faith. It's also some very tactical things that we learned. So how the book is broken up, Terry, is that in each chapter we talk about a subject and we break it into my voice and then Laurel's voice, because obviously we went through this together, but being that the relationships were different, obviously my husband, my son, her dad, her brother, we had the information was a little bit different filtered for us, and also because we're different ages, different generations, how we handled things were different. So we share our perspective on each one of these things, and then at the end of the chapters we give questions that people can ask themselves to see how they could do that better as well.
One of the tenets of the Get Foxy Show podcast, we talk about holistic health, natural beauty, and passionate living.
Mm-hmm.
And you, Carey, are one of the most passionate people when it comes to passionate living. I think Carey Conley specifically because of this. You and I first met not long before your husband's suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And so to watch you go through this, I mean, you have seriously walked through some major coals. I mean, just fire walking through
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And to see how you've transitioned through this has been nothing short of miraculous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think there's so many people out there that would have just cratered under this kind of situation.
Yeah.
So how have you been able to do this? It's not something, I mean, I would almost say it's superhuman.
Well, again, I'm powered by a much higher source. So you've got to keep that in mind, that when people say to me, "You're so strong," I always say to them, well, it's not me. Because if I did not have my faith, if I really did not believe that there was a higher power and control and that this was all a part of God's plan and a grander purpose, yeah, I just don't know how people get through things like this when they don't have that. It'd be impossible, I think. So the other thing is that I've been very, very clear, as you know, for many, many years on my vision and my purpose for my life. And with all of this, when it happened, obviously the questions have always been, you know, why this, why us, why them, why suicide? You can really wrap yourself around that. Instead, what I want to do is point to, okay, what's the purpose in all of this? Because I do trust that there is a purpose for everything. And how can we use this for good? Because here's the thing, at the end of the day, Terry, I can't change what happened. And I can't control what's happening in the world right now. The only thing I can control is knowing why I'm still here and what I'm called to do. So my passion is really fueled by my purpose and my faith. Anybody can have that when they figure that out.
And you definitely have a purpose in helping others.
Yes.
You do such a good job, especially when it comes to this subject of vision.
Right.
So when you say vision is victory, what does that mean to you?
Well, when I talk about vision in my workshops, when I'm speaking, now I'm doing a lot of it virtually, I talk about the top 10 reasons, and there's more than 10, but I usually just pick 10, as to what having a crystal clear written vision does for your life. Some of those things include helping people make better decisions with their time and their money and the people they spend it with. If they run a business, it helps them put a very quantitative metrics-based plan on paper. It helps people get through all the storms of their own life. I have also seen people find their purpose once they get their vision written, which is, again, why I do what I do. So again, it's just that vision is victory, because when people take what I call a very vague thing that's rolling around in their head. That's kind of a someday mentality of how they're living. Someday that's going to happen. Someday I'll make that dream come true. Someday I'll get out of debt. That's not a game plan. That's just surviving. And instead, what I want to help people do is understand that they have a purpose and every day matters, and how to step out of living in someday into living intentionally every day so that they find their own passion and their own purpose. And having that vision helps them fix a lot of things that they're really struggling with right now.
This is something that not a lot of people coach on. How in the world did you start knowing that you were an expert on helping people create a vision?
Well, I wouldn't say fell into it, because I don't believe we fall into anything. It's all been, a part of the plan. But when I was 26 years old, I was working full time. So was my husband. We didn't have our kids yet. My husband did the corporate world really well. I did not. And I was blessed with my first mentor there, who sat me down and said, you are never going to fit this mold. You need to figure out what it is you want your life to look like and go to work at creating that. So she was the first person who said, I want you to sit down, take a day with legal pad of paper, and write out every single thing about your life that you envision right now that you want it to become. And so on many pieces of paper, I wrote out very distinctly what I wanted my relationship with my husband to look like, what kind of mom I wanted to be when we had kids, that I wanted to be able to raise them and do a business from home when I was doing that. I wrote a lot about our lifestyle, core values, and how I really wanted to serve. And because I took the time to write that day, Terry, what I believe happened is that I was listening to my heart, and God and the universe were showing up to show me, this is what we have in store for you, and here's the game plan. So manifesting that is basically what I did. I started aligning with God, going, okay, so help me make this happen. And moving forward is when I stepped into becoming an entrepreneur, becoming a stay-at-home mom. And because of what I did as an entrepreneur, I was teaching what I had done to other people to help them get their vision on paper like I did, because it was working. And that's how I then 8 years ago officially became a speaker on the topic of vision. I created, again, my curriculum that's in Vision is Victory, the book, and now speak on it and train on it. So just all kind of came together.
What I just heard you say is that one of the major parts of this is that you started aligning yourself with God.
Mm-hmm.
How does one do that?
A lot of quiet time. A lot of stopping the noise and being very, very still. And I read a lot of devotion. First hour of every day for me, Terry, is quiet time. If I don't get it, the rest of my day is off kilter. It's a habit that I developed when my kids were young. I started doing that just to really keep centered in the midst of a lot of busyness going on in our household, and also to be really intentional with my time, because time is non-negotiable. It's very precious. You and I only have this 30 minutes together, and then it's gone. And I want to make sure that I use my time very respectfully. So the first hour of every day is crucial. If I could give anybody one tip, it's that. And I know that so many people have run such busy lives that being forced to be quiet and to really go within can be really challenging. But it's everything, because it's in the quietness that you can get connected to a source or a power that's bigger than you, and you can really hear what's in your heart and what you're really supposed to do. So we have to be quiet.
That's so fascinating. The guest I just previously interviewed, Joanna Shakti, we were talking about the interplay between masculine and feminine, or in Chinese medicine terms, we talk about yin and yang.
Mm-hmm.
How in our culture, the yang side, where we're constantly going and moving and doing and going and going and going,
Right.
and giving and giving, we we take so little time to be quiet,
Yeah.
to be still, and to receive.
Right.
And so what I'm hearing from you is that that's actually very important.
It's it's everything. It's where your energy comes from. It's how you get through all the fear and the doubt that everybody faces every day. It's getting very, very clear on the next moves that you're to make. So, one of my prayers every single morning is that I will just be guided hour by hour on what's the best use of my next 60 minutes, and that I do it for the right motivation. Um, which is another challenge I think we have in this world right now, because we're so achievement oriented, Terry, that we have to really check in on why we're doing things. And, you know, I follow a lot of different mentors. And one of my mentors said in a training on Friday that, if you want to know what your purpose is really one thing. We are all called to serve. We're all called to serve, which is why it's such a basic common denominator amongst all of us, right? Is that at the end of the day, we all want to feel like we matter and that we've helped other people. I don't know anybody who doesn't want that.
I hear you there.
Mm-hmm.
In one of my theological circles, we say God doesn't need your good works,
Mm-hmm.
but your neighbor does.
Yes.
And so that one really struck a chord with me. So it's like, well, yes, that's why I do what I do. I'm here to serve, and that's how we roll. So I think that's part of the reason why you and I resonate so well.
Yes. Well, there's no accident you and I met when we did, right? You have your vehicle of how you serve other people, and I have mine. And as long as we both stay in our lane, everybody wins.
Amen to that.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you the question I ask all my guests, and that is, what does Foxy and being Foxy mean to Carey Conley?
Well, I think it's confidence. I think people really feel their best and feel like they look their best, no matter what that looks like physically for them, when they are very, very confident in who they are. And that is, again, coming from a place of operating from stillness, vision and purpose, and just showing up every day so that I can do my best for you and anybody else, so that no matter how much older I get and what I look like in the mirror, I'm confident in that, and it makes me feel good about who I am.
Well, Foxy's confidence, what's the one piece of advice that you would give to help someone maintain that confidence, cultivate that confidence?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, first they have to get really rooted in who they are and what their purpose is, because once you get rooted in that, everything else kind of fades away. You don't spend time looking around at everybody else and seeing what they're looking like and what they're doing and what they're achieving. You focus on how you can be better every day, and the comparison just kind of all goes away. So if anything, I think the one tip is that you just have to know why you exist. It fills you up and gives you so much peace, no matter what is happening in this world.
That's big stuff.
Yes, it is.
Again, it sparks my curiosity. How does one find out why they exist?
Yeah. Well, the exercise that I do, there are a lot of people who talk about vision and purpose. We're all coming from the same place of servanthood and why we want to do it, but we do it all in kind of different ways. What I do is very simplistic. So I have people do an exercise where I get them to think 3 years out from now. So if we were to agree, Terry, like you and I hung up today and we didn't talk and 3 years passed, we think 3 years out because time and aging are non-negotiable. So I would have you get out a piece of paper, legal pads of paper, Date it at the top as if it's 3 years from today, and think about how old you will be, how old your kids will be, your grandkids, nieces and nephews, any younger people in your life, and also the older people in your life. How old are they going to be 3 years from now? Because we can't stop time and we are going to age. So when I get people to do that, the next thing I do is I get them to write a letter as if it is that date 3 years out and they haven't talked to this person and they want to get this person up to speed on everything that's happened in their life since they have not seen each other, right? So where are they living? What are they doing? How have they spent their time? Do they travel? Where are they going? How old are the kids? What does their relationships with the kids look like? What are their friends? How are they serving? You see what I'm talking about? Detail is they're looking further out and envisioning the dream life that they are working on creating so that they can reverse engineer it all the way down to knowing, like I've said earlier, what to do today that lines up with that vision. It's a very powerful exercise that nobody sits down and does. But when they do, it reveals a lot. And hidden in that writing of the vision, the purpose can be revealed.
If people want to learn more about working with you or how to find your books, how can they do that?
The best thing to do is I have a private Facebook group, Terry, that I love invite people to. It's free, and it's called Vision Driven Life. So they can follow me there. I get in there on a regular basis talking about vision and clarity. I'm going to start bringing on some guest speakers with me that I've helped over the years. May have to bring you on. So that's the best place. And obviously my website, everything is loaded there. It's just careyconley.com.
Fantastic. Well, I will include all of those links in the show notes. So listeners, you can just go over to the getfoxyshow.com and you'll find those links there and you can get connected with Carey.
Awesome.
Carey, thank you so much for taking the time. I can't believe our time's been, I
know, it goes
always goes so fast.
Right.
But I want to thank you and honor you for bringing more life and light and clarity and vision to this world. Thank you so much.
Thanks for helping me share it out.